Joining us here now, NBC Sports Bay Area friend right now, covering the Niners. I saw him at Tahoe at Edgewood at the American Century Championship. Ladies and gentlemen, Matt Maiocco returns to the program. Good to see you, Matt. Look at us.
Good to see you too.
When I left your set there on Wednesday, I didn't think you'd be on Monday's program. I got to be honest with you. Certainly, since we're sitting there, we're talking. Hey, it's kind of crazy that the 49ers are drama free. Certainly from last year, all the contracts are signed, and now Jauan Jennings wants a trade because his $7.5 million, I would agree, is not commensurate for what he stands to have to be for the 49ers potentially. So I give you the floor. And what's going on with Jauan Jennings, Matt?
Well, he has plenty of leverage. There's no question about that. When you think, no Deebo Samuel, he's been traded. Brandon Aiyuk, likely to miss a handful of games as he recovers from the ACL. You have Demarcus Robinson, who started 17 games with the Rams last season, and the 49ers signed as a free agent, a veteran guy, and his availability is a little bit in question as the NFL ponders whether to slap him with some league discipline under the policy for substances of abuse. So Jennings coming off was essentially a 1,000-yard season last year, as you noted, underpaid with an exploding wide receiver market. The problem for him is he is under contract, and if you are under contract and you hold out from training camp, you face significant fines. What will end up happening if he requests a trade? The 49ers are only going to trade him if they can feel like they're getting something out of it and it benefits them. There have been a lot of players through the years while John Lynch has been general manager who have requested trade as a negotiating ploy. He hasn't traded any of those guys except for this last offseason when Deebo Samuel, that was more of a mutual thing. They figured that had kind of run its course. But if he bets on himself and he has the kind of season in 2025 that he had in 2024, he stands to double his salary for next year. So it'll be interesting to see how this thing plays out. I'm actually a little bit surprised that it's taken this long, that this wasn't something that, maybe was more prevalent during the offseason when he could have just stayed away entirely from the offseason program and maybe put the screws to the 49ers a little bit then. Now it kind of seems a little bit late in the process for this to be gaining some momentum and some steam.
Well, I guess better late than never to get it out there. I guess if you're on the side of Jauan Jennings, and as always, I say here all the time, Matt, that we just see the tip of the iceberg. There's a larger iceberg when it comes to virtually every NFL story, and this kind of reeks of maybe Jauan Jennings' side got a response they were not happy with in recent days, or they thought that there could be a change of a stance by this point, and maybe that's what's up, Matt, just to speculate.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think even if you look a year out, was it possible or did it seem likely that this was going to be Jauan Jennings' last season with the 49ers? Probably. When you think about all of the big money contracts that they've doled out to keep their own guys in this offseason, huge money, obviously, for Purdy, for Kittle, for Fred Warner. And so last year they drafted a wide receiver in the first round, Ricky Pearsall. They also drafted Jacob Cowing. This year they drafted Jordan Watkins. So they've tried to kind of stock up with some young wide receivers with the money they've already given Brandon Aiyuk a year ago after a very tumultuous and roller coaster of a negotiations, which included, by the way, a trade request, which was not fulfilled. But certainly the 49ers did do some homework on that front. But, do they have the wherewithal to pay two wide receivers $15+ million per season, while also having high-priced players at nearly every position group? So, there was certainly a line of thinking where, this probably would be Jauan Jennings last year, because if he hits the open market, teams in a lot better salary cap shape can sign him to a contract that the 49ers probably wouldn't be able to match unless they decide that they're going to move on from Brandon Aiyuk. So it's not clear cut how the 49ers approach this. But ultimately, I'm skeptical whether the 49ers can give him the kind of contract that he would want at this stage, which, as we talked about, would be a significant raise over what he has. It probably wouldn't have to be up to the level that he could get on the open market, but something maybe can kind of placate him by giving him a little bit more security, extend it out a year. And so we'll see how this thing all transpires. But you can look at it from both sides. Both sides probably feel like they have leverage. From the 49ers standpoint, he is under contract for this season.
And
From one,
and didn't they improve it last year?
yes, they
Matt?
did.
Right.
Yeah.
So like that, they could be. I understand. They could be sitting here saying, "Well, we gave you a little extra toast last year, so here we are now. Like how many more times we have to do this?" And I guess, Jauan Jennings is like more. I saw. You can see obviously two sides of the coin here, Matt. What is the scoop with Aiyuk? What do you know as we're on the cusp of training camp around the corner?
So what I've heard, he's making really good progress. I mean, even above and beyond kind of where they expected him to be. So he had that surgery in early to mid November. So he's about 8 months out from having the ACL surgery. What complicates it was it was an ACL, MCL, and also some other damage in there, some cartilage damage. So he looks very good. 49ers are very impressed. They're optimistic about where he is. He's going to start training camp on July 22nd when they report. He'll start on the PUP list. And there are some people who think like, well, gosh, there is a chance he could be ready for the start of the regular season. In all likelihood, the 49ers are going to pump the brakes on that and just make sure that when he comes back, he's fully ready to go. I mean, he is under contract through 2028, so they're not looking to just milk him for everything he's got this year and then cast him aside. So my best guess would be that he opens the regular season on PUP, and then week 5 would be the first game that he'd be eligible to play. But that's a short week. That's a Thursday game against the Rams. So to me, if I were a betting man, probably week 6 would be the area. That'd be so week 6 against Tampa Bay. Give him, a full week to practice, to get up to speed, and everything else. So I think that's where now that's all subject to change based on how he's looking in training camp as he's working behind the scenes and everything else, or if he has any setbacks, any of that nature. But my best guess would be week 6. Seems pretty logical.
Well, there's only a handful of teams for whom rookies report tomorrow. 49ers are one of them. So Robert Saleh, I imagine, will be the guy welcoming most of these rookies off the bus, right? Since that's the side of the football that they drafted on the most. Who should we be eyeing to arrive in Santa Clara that can be a significant contributor?
Yeah, it was the Robert Saleh draft. The first 5 picks for the 49ers,
right.
All defensive side, starting with Maiocco Williams. So, he's the guy that, obviously at 11, 49ers had their eye on him. You hear it from every team. Can't believe he was there. But I think for the 49ers, they really couldn't believe he was there because they did try to trade up and get Maiocco Williams. They ended up staying at 11. They got him. So base down defensive end, where they lost a lot of guys on the defensive line. He's expected to be a starter, set the edge in the run game, and then maybe even move inside and rush the passer. So he's definitely one. Probably the biggest concern would be their second round pick, Alfred Collins from Texas, who didn't participate in the offseason program because of a calf injury. And he's one of 30 picks around the NFL, second round picks, who doesn't have a contract. And then probably the third guy would be Nick Martin, a linebacker from Oklahoma State, where the 49ers did make an attempt, albeit a little bit late, to re-sign Dre Greenlaw. Those linebacker spots, other than Fred Warner, were a weakness last year when Greenlaw wasn't out there. And so they're expecting Nick Martin to step in and play a significant role. Then the the other 4 and 5 guys, the defensive players, Upton Stout, a nickelback who can step in right away and certainly compete for that nickelback job, playing 2/3 of the snaps, and then also CJ West from Indiana, a defensive tackle who should be a rotational player. So unlike maybe some of the past years where the 49ers roster was pretty much set and they didn't need a whole lot from the rookie class other than to just develop them for bigger roles down the line, this year is different. This year, the 49ers, with a lot of veteran players leaving, they need these rookies to get on the field and produce in a big way from day one.
And that day one is Tuesday. It's pretty. We've made it, Matt. Certainly in terms of you covering the 49ers. Last one for you. I don't know how much you got around the American Century Championship there in Lake Tahoe, but obviously we're in that part of Nevada is right next door to Northern California, 49ers country, to say the least. And I got a lot from the gallery. Hey, how do you think the Niners are going to do this year? I'm assuming you did as well. How would you answer that question before I let you go, Matt?
Well, I think they're set up well schedule-wise and just everything else to certainly have a bounce-back season. I mean, they're not going to finish 6-11 unless something catastrophic happens. Health-wise, they're in a good spot, but there are a lot of unknowns, and it's this rookie class that they're placing a lot on. I don't think they're the juggernaut that they were during that run of 4 straight NFC Championship game appearances. I don't think that team right now, but they do have a lot of potential, and there's a lot that has to go right. Those veteran guys like McCaffrey, Trent Williams, those guys have to stay healthy, but they are definitely set up to have a major improvement over last year. I would expect them to be right there at the top of the NFC West. I think the schedule really favors them over the Rams, where the Rams have that first place schedule. The 49ers have the last place schedule. So just listen to this. The Rams play the division winners in these divisions. They play the Eagles, the Lions, and the Ravens, whereas the 49ers don't play those 3 teams. Instead, they play the Giants, the Bears, and the Browns. So that conceivably could be a 1 or 2, maybe even a 3-game swing when you think of the games the Rams should lose on paper, obviously, and the games the 49ers should win. So that, to me, kind of pushes the 49ers over the top as far as being a favorite in the NFC West.
Well, as Kenny Mayne once famously said over and over again, my colleague from back in the day at SportsCenter, they don't play the games on paper. They play them inside television boxes. So we'll see how that works out. and then a week from Tuesday, do you think we see Jauan Jennings when training camp opens for everybody?
I do.
You do?
I do. I don't know that the contract that he'd be looking at would be such a huge contract that it would make total sense for him to hold out and incur those kinds of fines. So my guess is that ultimately, again, just a guess, that Jauan Jennings bets on himself, has himself a good year, and then probably cashes in big time in 2026.
We should have known better when we parted ways last Wednesday, Matt, right? Well, hey, the Niners are just drama-free.
Really drama-free. Now the question for you,
yes,
Rich.
Sir. Yes, sir.
How nerve-wracking is it? Because when I play golf and I'm with 3 buddies, I'll often say to them, hey, don't stand there. I don't know where this is going.
Yes.
When you have people lined up on both sides of you, what was it like?
It was harrowing is the only way to put it. It was, let's put it, it was life-affirming that we're all on the same planet, and we all have nerves, and we all have yips, or can actually stripe it in those conditions. And I have nothing but the greater, utmost respect further now of professional players. My gosh, Matt, unbelievable. It was handshaking, but it was all good, man. As you saw, it's so beautiful there. It's such a great spot. It's such a great tournament. Thanks for the time, Matt. Really appreciate it.
Okay, Rich. Great to see you.
Right back at you. That's Matt Maiocco of NBC Sports Bay Area. Catch the Rich Eisen Show live weekdays from 12 to 3 p.m. Eastern on Roku Sports Channel in the U.S.